Alright, it's finally time to talk about the game you all want me to talk about. What are you doing here? There we go! In my review of the Mario movie, I said that I was, quote, not a gamer. I had played and enjoyed a lot of games before, obviously, mainly on the DS I had as a kid. But as the years went on, gaming was never something I got super hooked on like was the case with movies, even if I did enjoy watching the occasional gaming review on YouTube. That all changed at the end of 2023 when I received a Nintendo Switch as a Christmas present, and this lame game nobody cares about. I played Mario Wonder over the following week, and over the course of the next year, found tons of other games that I had a really good time with. Gaming went from something I would happily do if given the chance but wasn't a passion, to a genuine hobby of mine. And 2024 really made me appreciate video games as an art form, much like movies are. And it also made me like the Mario movie less, because why would I want to watch this basic Illumination movie whose only merit is capturing the fun feel of the games when I can be, I don't know, playing the games, or watching Suzume. Anyways, the first party Nintendo games were obviously the ones I was drawn to the most, and it's been a delight experiencing a lot of these games and series for the first time, and getting into the community and the wacky shenanigans they get up to. But out of all the games I've played through the entirety of since getting my Switch, which to be fair is maybe like 10 games, one that I especially fell in love with was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I'm sure you've heard this before, but this game is simply superb. It just oozes life and personality in a way so many other 2D platformers don't. And I can confidently say that it's one of the best ones I've ever played. Which is also like 10. The level designs, the level themes, the movement, the mechanics, the music. Evan Call, eat your heart out. It's a game that is not only tremendously fun to play, but also just to immerse yourself in its world. And we're talking about a game about monkeys fighting penguins, so you can tell the developers went the extra mile to make something truly special out of this one. Rayman Legends still has the slight edge for me in terms of the magical feeling I get from playing it, but Tropical Freeze is definitely a close second in being my favorite platformer I've experienced over the past 2 years. It's a phenomenal game, but like I said, I'm sure you've heard all that before, and you don't need me to blab on about why this 12-year-old critically acclaimed game is good. So let's talk about something a bit more specific, the levels. Tropical Freeze is famous for having a plethora of unique, well-designed, insanely creative stages. More so than something like Mario, this game does an excellent job at making each stage feel different from the last, despite each world sharing its own general theme. Each level feels like its own little world, resulting in a game that never gets boring or repetitive, most of the time. So I thought it'd be fun to go through each level and boss and see how they rank next to each other. I've played through this game like 5 or 6 times by now, so I think I have a pretty good grasp on which stages I prefer over others. But levels are still generally harder to rank than movies, so I've taken the liberty of separating them into tiers based on how they make me feel and how much fun I have playing them. Fortunately, there aren't any irredeemable F-tier stages in this game. There probably would be if I was ranking returns, but I might as well explain what the other tiers mean. D tier is bad, a straight up unfun stage that I would rather be doing something more valuable with my time than playing, like watching Suzume. C tier is average, not actively unfun, but something I more so begrudgingly play just to get through the game, rather than something I really enjoy. B tier means I would rather be playing the level than not, and is a stage that I can at the very least say I liked a decent amount. A tier is for the great stages, the ones that I'm excited to jump into and can always have a good time with, despite some minor flaws. And S tier is for the cream of the crop, the stages that fill me with pure joy and amazement no matter how many times I play them. With that in place, the last thing I want to preface before starting is that I played the Switch version of this game, obviously. I don't think there are any major changes in the stages between that and the Wii U version, but I have played the game in both normal and funky mode. Ranking the levels based on how they made me feel in funky mode would be a little unfair, so I'm gonna try and take the average of how I felt about these stages across both modes to make it a bit easier to complete and rank them. And also because funky mode is awesome and normal mode is for losers. So with all that being said, let's finally get into ranking all 63 levels in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
DK! Donkey Kong is gay!
When I started planning out this list, there were still a few levels I had yet to play through, mainly because they were just too hard to get to in normal mode. What, I've only been a gamer for 2 years. And one of those levels I was particularly dreading given the horrors I had heard about it. And it lived up to my expectations in flying colored keys. Introducing 4-B Shoal Atoll. So as you'll soon see, I'm not the biggest fan of the water levels in this game, mostly because they trade off fast and satisfying above ground platforming for slow and monotonous swimming. But at the very least, every other water level in the game knew to keep things basic. Just move to the right and get to the end of the stage. Not Shoal Atoll, because someone at Retro Studios thought it would be really funny to make an underwater Metroidvania maze where each room feels the same and you end up going around in circles looking for colored keys because you're given no indication of where you're supposed to go. Oh, and one more thing, you have a breath meter. Hope you don't run out of air in these large rooms that only give you one place to get it. Now granted, I played this level in funky mode because I straight up could not get to the secret exit that leads to this level in normal mode, so the breath meter wasn't something I had to deal with. But I can imagine the agony that comes with tirelessly swimming around with no clue on where to go, only to run out of air. The level is super slow and boring, but you also have to act quick to get to the next air chest to stay alive. While I may not have experienced this firsthand, it does not sound fun in the slightest. And don't worry, even in Funko mode, this is still easily the worst level in the game. Like I said, it's just swimming around through nearly identical rooms looking for stupid keys. That's already bad enough, but then they had the gall to add in secret required passages that you open by collecting bananas. And also sharks, the enemy you can't defeat and the most annoying one in the game. It doesn't even have good vibes or unique aesthetics, which is the saving grace of a lot of other low-tier Tropical Freeze levels. It's just the most boring, basic water level fluff that goes out of its way to actively annoy you with its stupid gameplay concept. I guess I can respect this level for its ambition and desire to do something different, but that means basically nothing since the idea is so fundamentally bad and unfun that it doesn't even matter. No matter which mode you choose, you get an either agonizing or miserable time. Truly, the worst this game has to offer and an embarrassment even by water level standards. Fuck you, Shoal Atoll.
Oh my god, it's the final boss.
For as beloved of a game as Tropical Freeze is, I don't think anyone is going to argue with me saying that Lord Frederick is kinda a bad final boss. I didn't like most of the bosses in this game the first time I played it, but after going through them a few more times and getting the hang of things, I can definitely appreciate the way they're designed a lot more than I originally did. Not Frederick though, this guy just sucks. Volcano Dome is a tedious and almost boring fight, especially for being the final one in the game. It's challenging, but that comes more from being annoying and trolly rather than actually difficult. The two most important factors of these bosses for me is A, having a variety of interesting, well-telegraphed attacks, and B, being satisfying to hit. This boss manages to fail at both, resulting in an unfun and mind-numbing fight that just goes on and on. The telegraphing is awful. You have practically zero clue as to what you're supposed to be doing if this is your first time playing this boss. I will defend this single attack that every reviewer seems to complain about. Like, I don't find it a big deal to watch out for which platform falls first and jumping back down to that one. The real enemy here is this stupid ice dragon thing. He shoots them out so quick with little warning to the point where you're essentially bound to get hit at least once. It's an example of this boss being hard solely because of how annoying it is. Speaking of annoying, you can only hit Frederick when he charges at you, which would be fine if not for the fact that his hitbox is like 3 pixels. What makes this worse is that he only runs at you 3 times per cycle, and you need to hit him 3 times to move on to the next phase. So if you want to beat him faster, you better not miss. Which brings me to my biggest issue, the boss goes on for way too long. You have to hit him 9 times during the aforementioned running move in order to win. But in order to get him to do the running move in the first place, you have to hit him with a penguin as he dances in the background in this time-consuming minigame, which then brings him to the foreground. And this penguin throw does not count as one of your hits, making this whole thing feel like a waste of time. And given how fast Frederick gets paired with this tiny hitbox, you're bound to miss at least one of the 3 running hits, meaning you have to wait for the cycle to end, throw another penguin, and pray the game is feeling nice and registers your hit the next time around. That time adds up, and it's not even satisfying to hit him or dodge his annoying attacks, making for a fight that you just want to be over after like 1 phase out of 3. It's a real disappointment of a final boss, made worse by how there's a much better boss in this game that would have fulfilled the role of the final big bad way better. Yeah, there's a reason nobody talks about or likes this boss despite how much praise the game itself gets. Sorry, Lord Frederick. Maybe you'll get your chance in the next Donkey Kong Country game.
DK! Donkey Kong Escape!
You can sail to Switchback Cove and catch the current back from there. Like a steel trap, this noggin is.
So like most people, I'm not exactly a fan of water levels. You have fun, satisfying, action-packed platforming on land, and then you get to World 4 and it's just a lot of swimming. To be fair, the swimming in Tropical Freeze doesn't control terribly or anything, but it's just not fun enough to carry a level, and it's especially not fun enough to carry an entire world of levels. Yeah, this is easily my least favorite world in the game, and while none of the levels aside from Shoal Atoll are awful, so many of them are just kind of bleh. And the second worst one has to be the penultimate
penultimate stage, Current Capers. I just find this level really boring and tedious. The whole gimmick of spinning these gears feels like it was already done in Miss Abyss with the signpost, but these are far less satisfying to activate. And then you get to these annoying currents that push spikes around in a rather awkward way. Hope you don't run out of air during these long and monotonous sections. I just don't find swimming in this game precise enough to get through obstacles like this. If it controlled like a game like Rayman Legends, I think this would be a lot more fun. But as is, it's just boring, and like with a lot of these water levels, you'll soon find that the best option when you're playing in funky mode is to just damage boost through everything and hope for the best. Especially with these vine zapper things that move in such an awkward way to the point where it's hard to maneuver your giant ape body around them. Then we get to this section, which just feels like a more boring version of Irate 8, and then it's thankfully over. I guess if I had to compliment anything, I like the on-land sections, but it's not a good sign when that's the thing I'm complimenting about your water level. Not really awful, just a slog for me.
I present to you DK, King of Swing.
Even though I unlocked some of them during my first playthrough of the game, I originally didn't bother with the temple levels. I'm not against difficult levels, but I personally come to Tropical Freeze for its level themes and unique design rather than its challenge. But I had to play through all of them for this video, and the worst one for me is the first one, Swinger Flinger. I think I actually attempted to play this one when I first unlocked it during my original playthrough, but then I died twice and threw my Switch out the window. But even now that I can complete the level on my own just fine, this one still feels kind of cheap and not all that fun. I don't care for levels in games where the whole gimmick is fall and die, and I get that's the point of most of these temple levels, but god damn it, that doesn't mean I have to enjoy it. The vines just feel awkward to swing from, and it's not the kind of platforming I enjoy in this game. Neither are these rolling ball platforms, which also feel really awkward to hop on and off from. The part where you climb up the vines and have to avoid spikes is fine, I suppose, and I'll give the ending with this rolling ball credit for being creative at least. But yeah, this one is not for me. Swinger Flinger, more like not a very good level, I don't know.
Sit here from Ice Age to Meltdown. The Meltdown. Go Meltdown.
Meltdown Mayhem is the final non-boss stage in the game, and if you couldn't tell by this placement, I don't really care for the tail end of this adventure, or the Ramby levels in general for that matter. Charging forward and demolishing everything in your path can be fun and has its own charm, but it really isn't the type of platforming I enjoy in a game as greatly designed as this one. And the reason Meltdown Mayhem is my least favorite Ramby level in the game is because of how ridiculously precise you have to be while charging forward. The combination of being super quick and precise just makes for an experience that's pretty frustrating. And I get that it's the final stage of the game and you should expect it to be challenging, but instead of the challenge feeling natural like in a lot of these other late game levels, it just feels kinda awkward, especially with the ice physics factored in. But the thing that kills the level for me is the ending lava chase. If you stop charging for half a second, you're dead, which doesn't sound bad until you realize you also have to jump onto these platforms to get across the lava. And let me remind you that jumping is mapped to a different button than charging, and I can't do both at the same time. So you really have to be pixel perfect in this final chase, which just isn't fun for me. Even the music is just reused from Homecoming Hijinks, which is a stellar track, don't get me wrong, but it really doesn't fit with the boiling lava aesthetic. The opening platforming section is fine, and hitting these ice balls to create platforms across the lava can be cool, but I can't really say I'm a big fan of this one. Very disappointing final stage for the game.
It's just a straight plummet to certain death.
As expected for a game that introduces a new theme or gimmick for each and every level, some of these gimmicks are gonna be better than others. And I don't think it's an unpopular opinion to say that Rickety Rafters is one of the least enjoyable ones. Platforms move on gears. Wow, cool. I don't find pulling these vines or hitting these targets to move the platforms all that fun or satisfying. Certainly not enough to base an entire level on. It feels more like a Donkey Kong Country 1 stage with how base level and whatever this main mechanic is. Coupled with that, I've always found this level to be kind of slow. Waiting for the platforms and gears to actually move can get tedious after a bit, especially at this one part that combines the vine pulling and fruit throwing, and there's not a lot of interesting enemy placements either, so the extent of the difficulty in this level is fall and die. It just makes for a rather boring stage that I would definitely rather skip, especially when the other secret level in this world is way better.
It is my professional opinion that now is the time to panic!
Other than Shoal Atoll, I think the award for the single most disliked level in this game would go to Panicky Paddles. And I can definitely understand why. I despised this level the first time I played the game, and every criticism thrown towards it is perfectly valid. But I will admit, I don't think it's quite as bad on repeat playthroughs. Maybe that's because I'm playing it in funky mode now, but I digress. There actually are some enjoyable elements here, like the bouncing fruit and spinning platforms that you gotta stay on top of to not fall in the fruit juice. In general, the above ground sections of this level
level aren't half bad. Not super interesting, but not actively unfun either. But then you get to the swimming portions and these are so tedious, with annoying puzzle pieces thanks to these unbeatable shark enemies, my least favorite enemy in the game, and this unbearably long stretch with no air bubbles where you have to maneuver around spiky fruits. The level in general is way too long thanks to sections like this one, and it makes you question why they're stretching all this out in the first place. But what absolutely kills the level are the Kong letters and the secret exit. I don't want to factor collectibles too much into the ranking, but these ones need to be called out. K and O are simple enough, but N is super tedious to get, and G is straight up evil. What's worse is that if you're playing the original mode, you have to have Dixie to get that G, and to swim past the current to the secret exit. Which doesn't sound bad until you remember this level only has one barrel at the very beginning, and it's unbearably long, meaning you have to get through all this without losing 2 hearts. Of course, it's not a problem in funky mode, but this is the way the level was originally designed, so I gotta reprimand it for that. As a whole, this level has more going on and isn't as fundamentally unfun as the 6th rank below it, but I'm absolutely not gonna argue with its haters.
Dave! 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 Dave!
Irate 8 is such a cool concept for a level. Bringing back the octopus guy from Returns and repurposing him into an underwater level where he chases you, a level type that wasn't in the last game, is an awesome idea. Unfortunately, it is still a water level, and I've made it clear by now that I'm not a fan of those. This one is at least more interesting than the others in this world, given how it has a giant octopus you have to run away from and swim around. But that sorta gets cancelled out by how this level is kinda annoying to play. Like I said, the swimming in this game is not as precise as I would have liked, and the parts where you're swimming around the bombs and spikes just feel like the precursor to current capers. But the real problem here is the chase sections where you have to swim away from the ink. Much like Meltdown Mayhem, it feels like there's ridiculously little room for error or time to carefully move yourself, albeit maybe not as annoying as it was there. Still, quickly twisting and turning around obstacles combined with the water controls does not make for an especially fun time, to the point where if you're playing in funky mode, you might as well just damage boost through everything and hope for the best. The first chase is doable and fine enough, I guess, but the second one is an absolute nightmare. Their spamming of quickly moving obstacles everywhere gets annoying fast, and combined with the ink hot in your trail, I think it's actually impossible to get through this section without at the very least taking damage once. It is a really cool set piece that makes you wish this was the final stage before the boss, but I just don't find it enjoyable. The music and atmosphere are pretty stellar here, even compared to the other water levels, but this is one I never have the urge to replay.
DK! Donkey Kong is gay!
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
Deep Keep sure is a water level. The most watery water level that ever water leveled. Honestly, I think the name says it all with this one. Deep Keep. Like the least creative name you can possibly think of for a level of this kind. There's really not much to say about this one because it doesn't really have its own identity or gimmick outside of being the first pure water level in the game. The obstacle and enemy placements are just kinda lame, and I don't find activating these switches especially satisfying. Nothing about it is poorly designed or frustrating, aside from maybe this sticker star ass secret exit that I have no idea how any new player is supposed to find. And I'll give the ending credit that it does try to make the level a bit more exciting by having the current push you through the spikes and enemies. But other than that, there really isn't anything to talk about with this one. I don't see how it can be your favorite level in the game or your least favorite. It's just the token water level and that's it. Next.
Looky, 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 it's Crumble Cookie.
Coming from a world that absolutely pops off with interesting themes and level gimmicks, Crumble Cavern feels like one that the developers didn't really have any strong ideas for. Maybe this would have felt more acceptable in World 1, but this ain't World 1. I mean, you unlock this level through the secret exit in Sawmill Thrill, and Rodent Ruckus is literally right after it, so a boring and dull level like this one is gonna stick out here in a bad way. The theme is cave. There's some cheese and rats occasionally, foreshadowing Rodent Ruckus, which is kind of cute, but like, it also makes me wish I was playing that level instead. There are vines that break and a bunch of barrel sections, which kind of get repetitive and lame with how frequently they're used in this level, apart from the ending, which can be fun. And the cave crumbling as you blast your way through the barrels attached to these stalactites is a cool set piece, even if something similar is done in a way more interesting and exciting way in a later level. David Wise must have been on his lunch break because the music in this level is... There's a comically long vine towards the beginning,
Yeah, that's about it.
It's a darkness level, and it's a water level. Oh, goody.
Okay, stick with me here. We still have one more water level to talk about. Who asked for so many of these? Jesus Christ. The most enjoyable adjacent one for me is probably a Miss Abyss, solely for the fact that it's a silhouette level. It's definitely the weakest of the 3 silhouette levels in this game, but it does elevate this one from being slightly higher than it would have ranked otherwise. It does look really beautiful, with the black and blue complementing each other perfectly, and combined with the excellent music, creating a lovely atmosphere. And there are slightly more on land sections compared to the other water levels, so that's a plus. I also think swimming through fish to light up your surroundings is kind of fun. With all that said, however, this is still a water level, and the visuals and atmosphere can only do so much. Nothing about this one is annoying compared to the other levels I ranked lower, but there's not too much terribly interesting going on gameplay-wise. The coral and fish aren't enough of a gimmick to carry a level, and the pacing is still really slow, making the stage drag on forever. I can definitely appreciate this level for the aesthetics, but it'd feel wrong to rank it any higher than this.
Frozen Forest.
If I remember correctly, I think my least favorite world in Returns was either the cave or forest one. Or maybe I just remember it that way because of that damn Muncher level, which is probably going in F tier if I ever rank the levels in that game. So it's not all that surprising that I don't really care for Forest Folly all that much. The aesthetics and music are gorgeous, as is the case for most World 6 levels, but I don't really find the central idea all that fun or exciting. The gimmick of this one is giant snowflakes that kill you for some reason, and these platforms that you hit to bounce from place to place. And honestly, I feel this just slows down the gameplay more than anything. And it doesn't really feel like this concept evolves or gets more interesting as the level continues on, like a lot of the best levels in the game. Most of the challenge comes from fall and die, making this feel like a cheaper and easier tempo level. I also don't care for the parts where you cling onto these rolling wheels. Moving around them just feels super awkward and weird to me, even for as cool as an idea as it is. I don't know, this level doesn't do anything wrong per se, but it's pretty forgettable in the grand scheme of Tropical Freeze.
Hurry before the jam trips.
Jam and Jam is this level that you unlock through the secret exit in Panicky Paddles. Is it worth going through the hell of getting to that secret exit just to play this level?
No.
I mean, it's fine enough, but it kind of feels like a lesser Fruity Factory with less compelling hazards and obstacles, a weaker theme that basically amounts to fruit crushers and platforms that move between the fore and backgrounds. And, well, I was gonna say weaker music, but no, this track honestly slaps. I'd even say it's a jam. Otherwise, though, this one isn't really anything too special. These platforms and crusher things just aren't an interesting enough concept to base a level on. I mean, we literally already have a bonus room that does the exact same idea that this level claims as its own. They also spam these rat wheel enemies everywhere, my second least favorite enemy in the game. Awesome. The barrel sections are pretty fun, especially the one at the end, and the music is great, like I said. But this isn't a particularly special level, and I'm already forgetting about it as we speak.
Escape! Donkey Kong escape!
Like I said during Meltdown Mayhem, I don't really care for the Ramby levels in this game. And while Mountain Mania is definitely a step up from that one, I'm not crazy about it either. Just like the level right before it, the music and autumn atmosphere are absolutely amazing and so full of whimsy and joy, making this a better level than it would have been otherwise. I just don't think charging on Ramby across rickety platforms is all that fun. And while this chase isn't as obnoxious and rage-inducing as the one in Meltdown Mayhem, it's really not the type of gameplay I come to this game for. Once again, you can't charge and jump at the same time, making a lot of these sections pretty awkward to get through. I like the perilous feel of getting to the top of this mountain, but this is another one that isn't really my thing.
Let me hear you say, hey, oh, say,
Look out!
Icicle Arsenal is an icy, marginally better version of Crumble Cavern, meaning it gets to rank a whopping 5 spots higher. Still though, this one isn't anything too crazy or special. I feel like falling icicles is the most obvious gimmick to go for in this entire ice world, and while it's fine enough to stick with something relatively simple, it also means this one can't really stack up against the super creative and exciting levels that I have ranked higher. These just don't really leave too much to the imagination, and whenever the titular obstacle isn't present, the level is just kind of meh. Not bad or unfun, but kinda bland, and underwhelming considering this is the final secret level in the game. That's just so baffling to me, especially when Dynamite Dash would have been a much better level to end things off with. While this feels more like an appetizer for a better level. They do try to spice things up by having you climb across the crumbling ceiling, and this final barrel section is really cool and can be pretty tricky if you don't know what you're doing. You see, here's a difficult G that feels fair and satisfying. Take notes. Overall though, this one is just kind of there, and definitely not a favorite from World 6.
Board the platforms!
Before I played all the temple levels for this ranking, I had heard horror stories about platform problems, calling it one of the most difficult levels in the game. And to that I say, get good. Or play it in funky mode like I did. But yeah, this level is certainly no pushover. It constantly keeps you on your toes with how quickly the platforms shift and fall down. While I said I don't come to Tropical Freeze for its difficulty, I can still appreciate a well thought out challenge from time to time, and this is definitely that. I wouldn't say it feels cheap, even if most of it is your typical fall and die temple level. This is another one that isn't bad at all, it's just not for me. I just find most of it kinda boring, with the moving platforms never feeling like they advance in difficulty. That is until the ending, where the difficulty skyrockets. This section with 5 different platforms you're constantly switching between feels like too much, and it can be quite the hassle even in funky mode. And then the level just fizzles out again with this really lame part where you just go down. I don't know, not a bad level by any means, and I can appreciate the fair enough difficulty, but like most temple levels, it's not one I'm ever in the mood to replay.
You like jazz.
Beehive Brawl is a super novel idea for a level, bringing back the iconic Beehive theme from DKC 2 and modernizing it. I'm gonna be honest, I absolutely hated all the honey levels in that game due to the way the controls meshed horribly with the sticking to walls mechanic. So this modernization is more than welcome, and it's a super cool aesthetic with a really nice yellow and orange color palette. That being said, this one isn't really my cup of honey tea. Not because of the aesthetics at all, but because of the actual gameplay. So much of this level just feels like clinging onto grass, or maybe this is moss, I don't know. You cling on to these swinging things, then these things that the bees are carrying, then more swinging things. Just like in Forest Folly, moving around as you cling to these spinning circles just doesn't feel quite right, or all that fun to do. I obviously like this more than Forest Folly, mainly due to the theme, and how it tries to make the most of this idea by having the platforms hang from honey, which is pretty cute. But aside from that, the rest of the level is kinda whatever, with no super interesting platforming challenges or enemy placements. Definitely a worthwhile level for the theme, but not much more than that, unfortunately.
And you'd better not drag your ugly red butts around here again!
Been a while since we had a boss on this list. Just goes to show how far beneath the standards of this game the Lord Frederick fight is. And while Boom, okay, I really like that name, offers a much better fight than Frederick does, it's still a distant second for being my least favorite boss in the game. I can give it credit for having a wide array of unique attacks, but most of them are either really basic or just blend in with each other. Throwing bombs at these monkeys just doesn't feel as satisfying as bopping them like other bosses and enemies. And even when you do bop them, it's while they're swinging from vines, so the momentum just feels kind of awkward. The fight gets a little more interesting once the phantom monkeys show up and start chucking bombs all over the place, but as a whole, this boss hasn't grown on me too much since I first played the game. Like Frederick, it's just not interesting enough to justify the long length, nor are the attacks anything special. A serviceable enough boss, I guess, just not one I ever look forward to replaying.
Vehicular manslaughter!
So considering I said I don't come to Tropical Freeze for its difficulty, and I find removing checkpoints and spamming death pits everywhere to be cheap in some of the temple levels, do you think the Secret World levels will fare any better? Well, I mean, kinda. These are definitely elevated for me by the lovely sky aesthetic, as well as the music, which I prefer over the temple levels. But they still aren't exactly favorites of mine. And the least good one has to be Rocket Rails. A real shame too, considering the idea for this one is really great. A combination of the minecart and rocket barrel levels? That sounds awesome. Unfortunately though, those sections combine to make up like half of the level. And while it's definitely fun to fly through these spikes or bounce off these flying fish, I don't know, I was still expecting a bit more. It feels like they just chopped out leftovers from the far superior rocket barrel and minecart levels in the main 6 worlds. In the parts where you're not on the vehicles, just feels like padding to make sure the level isn't too short, when a better solution would have been to make the vehicle sections longer. It's not frustrating to play, and I appreciate how there's more room for error than any of the temple levels, but this one was a bit underwhelming for me.
Then what happened to Mr. Puff?
She doesn't like to talk about it.
Oh goody, having all these underwater levels span throughout World 4 just wasn't enough. They just had to have an underwater boss too.
You'll never be satisfied, but I hope you're satisfied.
Great. Putting this stupid choice aside, I'll give Fugu Face-Off credit for not being nearly as annoying as the prospect of an underwater boss sounds. I mean, he's a better boss than like 2 other ones. Is this a he? Do pufferfish have genders? As is, this boss definitely could have been a lot worse. The sucking and blowing attacks are fun to swim through, and I don't know what it is, but aligning yourself perfectly and hitting the boss is beyond satisfying. It feels so good given how the swimming controls in this game are. That said, this still does suffer from being an underwater boss, meaning you have to worry about the obnoxious
obnoxious breath beater if you're playing in normal mode. And you also have to avoid the edge of the arena as it's covered in spikes. Honestly, this just feels kind of cheap to me. I think the boss alone provides enough of a challenge, and while having a few spikes here and there would have been fine, having them everywhere just feels excessive. Especially in the third phase, where Fugu grows to take up half the screen, and you have to be super careful maneuvering between him and the spikes on the walls. Something that is not very easy to do with how the swimming in this game is. Great! I won't deny there's a lot to hate about this fight, and the decision to have an underwater boss was a dumb one. In spite of some issues, however, it's still a decently satisfying boss to hit and defeat, which is why I ranked it above both Frederick and Baboon. But let's be real, it's not ranking any higher.
I feel like you're just here for the zipline.
What? Zipline Shrine is the most fine level in the game.
Fine.
This is pretty much the baseline of what makes for a fun, solid enough Donkey Kong level, and not much else. A lot of it feels like a light version of Wing Ding, what with all these ziplines everywhere. And it's a fine enough introduction to this mechanic, but it just feels kind of basic, even by mechanic introducing level standards. It's still fun, but the level just feels like it's missing that pizzazz a lot of the later levels in this game have, and it almost feels kinda empty. They try to make it more interesting with these flying bananas everywhere, but ultimately these don't add much since they just give you coins. The titular zip lines are pretty fun though, and there's decent platforming involving these moving statue platform things, but overall it's nothing too special.
I'm on a boat with a couple of wackos.
Being the second level in the game, Shipwreck Shore is often overshadowed by what directly precedes it. And yeah, I can see why. Everything about this level feels like it's doing less than the level that came right before it. It's pretty hard to follow up something that was as fantastic as Mangrove Cove was, but something about this one just feels underwhelming to me. Maybe it's how nothing flows as well here and some sections go on for too long. Maybe it's how the enemy placements are a bit annoying. Or maybe it's that stupid puzzle piece that you're given no indication of and is a pain in the ass to get. And to top it all off, you have to play this one twice because there's a secret exit. Awesome. I don't know, it's not really a bad level and it's moderately fun, just kind of unremarkable in the grand scheme of this game.
Spike. Spike? Who the fuck is Spike?
So in Funky Mode, the mode I use to get through all the temple levels in this game, one of the features is that spikes don't hurt you when you step on them. Meaning that Slippy Spikes is... yeah. You can't totally cheese this level since you have to be careful to avoid the spikes on the top, which can hurt you, but a lot of the difficulty of this one is hilariously lost in this mode. Trying to look at it as fairly as I can, it definitely seems like one of the easier temple levels. But I guess I don't mind a bit of a breather, and the focus on spikes instead of bottomless pits everywhere is a nice change of pace. It also helps that the spikes are purple, making the color palette of this level look really pretty. The vertically moving large platforms combined with the ice physics makes for a solid enough challenge for a player like me, even in Funky Mode. I just think it kind of wears its appeal thin and starts to feel a little lame about halfway through. By the end, it feels more like Spinning Spikes Jr. Still, a solid enough tempo level for what it is, made obsolete by the power of Funky Mode. Levitation Station is the first of the 3 Secret World levels, and it's a pretty decent one, all things considered. This one focuses on blocks moving in and out of the foreground to make platforms like puzzle pieces. The visual of them doing that is really cool and satisfying, and platforming on them in the opening section is pretty fun. Unfortunately though, they don't really commit to this idea as much as I would have liked them to. After this section is over, we go into some barrels, and then we have to jump on some platforms as we fall down. It's a cool set piece, but it feels really awkward to control. Tai Lung obviously did it better. And while the ending part where we jump across these spiky platforms as they shoot up is pretty solid, it kind of feels like a lesser version of what we'll later see in Crazy Clouds. This one definitely would have ranked higher if it only focused on those puzzle piece platforms and made more fun challenges out of those, but it's still pretty solid as is.
Donkey Kong Bonanza!
Baobab Bonanza. This is another one that's just kind of decent, while not really doing anything to go above and beyond or stand out from the pack. These spiky fruit things make for a decent obstacle given they aren't perfectly round and have a unique rolling pattern. These giant flowers are also fun to platform on. That being said, however, this one doesn't feel like it has enough meat to it, nor does it really evolve into something especially interesting. It's just the spiky fruits keep getting bigger, and then there's a really big one that you have to run away from. Wow. It's a fine enough chase, but it definitely feels like a lamer version of what we'll later see in Fruity Factory. The music is also pretty forgettable and whatever as well, definitely a step down from the level that comes right before it. Still a solid time and I enjoy playing it enough, but definitely the weaker piece of Donkey Kong media with some variation of Bonanza in the title.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
And following up 3-2, we have
3-3, Frantic Fields. This is easily my favorite of the Ramby levels in this game, mainly because the theme of platforming through a tornado is really cool. The constant wind and lightning make everything feel really perilous, like you always need to be on your toes. And I think that fits a Ramby level much better than a wall of lava chasing you. The charging and jumping at the same time problem I had with the other two levels isn't quite as prominent here, as you're given more time to move ahead of the lightning that's chasing you. The visual of going up into this tornado as enemies and pieces of the ground fly around you is pretty awesome, even if the abundance of this ugly brown color doesn't make this the most appealing level to look at. I also think this opening part on the ground is kinda meh, just sort of feels like Mountain Mania 2 with no real interesting obstacles or enemy placements, aside from these mini tornadoes, which are more annoying than anything. And my last gripe is that I wish the music felt a bit more energetic and evoked a feeling of danger better, because it feels oddly calm for a level of this sort. Not a bad track on its own, just not the best fit. In spite of these issues, I still enjoy this one, even if it's not something I'm in the mood to replay all that often. Twilight Terror is unanimously agreed upon to be the weakest of the Rocket Barrel levels in Tropical Freeze. And while it's definitely not a bad level on its own, it's miles behind the other three, as you can see from this placement. The main problem with it is that it generally has the least going on out of these four levels. It doesn't feel like there are enough interesting obstacles to keep you engaged, and the ones that are here don't leave much to the imagination. Oh look, there's a big eel thing, but it doesn't attack you, it just goes beneath you and gives you coins. That's weird. The part towards the end with a bunch of eel monsters is more interesting, and the visual of them coming up to chomp at you is pretty cool. But it still feels like there's a bit of missed potential here with what you could have done with these monsters. And of course, this level has two secret exits for some godforsaken reason, one lying at the very end and one being painfully obvious in the middle. But the good news is, the earliest secret exit leads to Bramble Scramble, which, spoilers, is easily the best out of the three levels you can continue on to. So technically, you only have to play half of this one. I know I sound pretty mean, but this is still an enjoyable level for what it's worth. The Rocket Barrel is just so fun to ride on that it's hard to make a bad stage out of one of these. But not impossible. The obstacles are still fun to dodge, and the spectacle is there, even if it could have been a lot grander. A pretty solid stage, just one that pales in comparison to its Rocket Barrel brothers.
Cloud? Is that you?
Crazy Clouds is my favorite of the secret levels in this game. Not an amazing selection here, but definitely not a bad one, with this one being the standout for me. These platforms encased in clouds are fun to hop between. It definitely feels like a more realized version of the ending of Levitation Station. But of course, the real hook of this level is the floating propellers, perfectly tying back to the broken plane aesthetic from World 1, and it's just a cute visual on its own. These are also fun to hop between, if a little repetitive, and this part with the falling spikes feels like it was cut from Levitation Station. What really drags the level down for me though, is this final stretch on this rocket. They just move way too fast, giving you little control unless you're pushing the stick all the way to the right, which has messed me up multiple times. You could say skill issue, but I don't know, I still don't find this last section all that enjoyable. It knocks what is otherwise a pretty good level down a couple spots. Still, it's solid, and a nice way to cap off the game.
There'll be no match for my TNT cannon.
Branching off from Twilight Terror, Cannon Canyon isn't as good an option as Bramble Scramble, but it's definitely much better than Rickety Rafters, that's for sure. I'm normally not big on levels where the entire gimmick is just barrels, but I think combining that with these dynamite bonds makes for some semi-interesting challenges, especially when you get to these exploding trees. We get so many cool perspective shots in this one, and it really does feel like we're blasting through a canyon. They really nail the scope of this level, which is normal for this game, but this one in particular excels in that department. It's maybe a bit too short, and the actual platforming sections are just kind of whatever. Plus, I wish the music was a bit more bombastic to fit the theme, because it feels oddly calm as is. But this one is still a decently fun time. Scorch and Torch is pretty rad. I mean, just look at this place. It evokes the feeling of a hellish forest fire expertly. The brown and orange color palette is surprisingly really gorgeous, and the music elevates the fiery theme even further. It might be one of the most memorable tracks in the game. If I was grading based on themes and nothing else, this one would be an easy S tier. That being said, the gameplay does drag it down a bit for me. I just find picking up these berries to put out all the fire kinda slows down the pace of the level. Plus my OCD wants to put out all the fiery grass, meaning it takes even longer. It's not enough to ruin the level or anything, but it does mean it doesn't quite have the same seamless flow that a lot of the other ones do. It's still fun though, and the fire everywhere leads to some decent platforming challenges when you aren't just simply throwing berries. It's cool to see those pillar guys from Returns make an appearance in this game, and the entire stage evokes a feeling of treachery and danger, as it should. Not one of my personal favorites, but I can see why it is for a lot of other people.
Welcome to Let's Play Harvest Moon for the SNES.
My favorite world in Tropical Freeze easily has to be Juicy Jungle. A truly outstanding
string of levels with a cool popsicle making theme. And also Panicky Paddles is there. We don't talk about that one. With that said, my second least favorite level in this world would probably be Harvest Hazards. It's not bad, not even close, but there's a lot of mechanics at play here that I've never really liked that much. These fruit grabber things can be a bit annoying as the intervals in which they come down can feel a bit random and unfair. But the main thing I really don't like is these rolling platform things that you move from side to side on. This just never felt good to control for me, and it can feel unfairly tricky to move these things super precisely. Especially at this one part where you have to roll across the rails while they're actually up. I don't know, it once again feels like a cheap Donkey Kong Country 1 gimmick rather than something that meshes with the way this game is designed. That combined with the fruit grabbers do cause me to dock some points off from this one. Other than that though, I still think it's pretty good. The moving platforms are fun to jump between, the theme is really creative and cool, and it serves as a good little appetizer for what some of the other levels in this world are going to have in store, both thematically and gameplay wise. Pretty solid stuff. Also, I like jumping on the bouncy fruits. Bouncing in Donkey Kong is fun. This is what we call foreshadowing.
I am gonna buck you inside out!
Okay, I know I said Panicky Paddles was the most disliked level in the game, but I actually might have to take that back after reading some of these comments. I never knew I had so much rage inside of me until I played this level. This level gives me nightmares, lol. This level came from hell. Like, Jesus. I'll go ahead and admit that this placement may be a little bit biased as I played in funky mode, but I think Bopopolis is pretty damn fun. Sure, I'm not a fan of levels where the main obstacle is the endless pit of nothingness, but damn it is so satisfying to bounce on enemies in this one. And they're all placed brilliantly. It's almost like you're playing a rhythm game where you gotta perfectly time your jumps. It's hard and can be frustrating, don't get me wrong, but man does it feel good once you master it. Or you can just play it in funky mode like a true Chad. It's also great for farming coins and lives if you need them, and bonus points for using the superior temple music track. This one is more of a guilty pleasure because of how barren the level design is compared to a lot of the more complex temple levels, and maybe I would rank it lower if I was only playing in normal mode, but as a funky mode player, this shit just feels good. I don't know what to tell you. Rockin' Relics is a good example of what most of these stupid World 4 levels should have been like. It has equal parts platforming on land and swimming sections, which like, yeah, these swimming sections still aren't super fun or engaging or anything, but I'm just grateful they don't take up the entire damn level. And the on-land portions are honestly pretty solid. These spike balls are fun to avoid and platform around. I like the stormy and treacherous atmosphere, and the amount of platforms that boost you upwards make this one pretty fun. It's a little too long and some parts can be a real pain, like these slippery planks that lead into the shark tank. For the most part though, pretty good level for what it is. I like that they made the secret exit in this level inaccessible if you don't have Cranky, a character who is rarely used in the game. And even when you do have him, the exit is not exactly easy to get to. I should be angry at this, but given what level this exit leads to, yeah, maybe this is for the best. Spitting Spikes almost feels like a better version of what Slippy Spikes was going for. This one definitely keeps you on your toes more, meaning there isn't as much waiting around, and you can't as easily cheese it in funky mode. The several layers of spinning platforms are fun to hop between, as you gotta be careful not to touch the spikes on the side, or fall in the pit. I find that provides the level with a much more interesting challenge than just bottomless pit, and they even switch things up halfway through by having you go down into this lava section. It's bizarre to see a temple level actually switch up the aesthetic for once, but it's a welcome change. Though this lava chase isn't too terribly engaging, and feels like it's over before it really begins. Definitely not annoying like the one in Meltdown Mayhem, but a bit lame. Plus, some of the enemies can feel a bit awkwardly placed and provide unnecessary challenge and annoyance to a stage that felt pretty fair in its difficulty otherwise. But overall, this one isn't too bad, and it's definitely one of the temple levels I'd sooner replay. Given what world this is in, thank the Lord they did not feel the need to make an underwater temple level. Now that would have been a shoo-in for F tier.
Alpine credits.
Alpine Incline is pretty fun. I know I said I don't like levels where the main obstacle is falling down, but I can give this one a pass for its sky-high theming. It's cool to start the level in this stormy atmosphere underneath the clouds, only to blast above them into this gorgeous, almost heaven-like atmosphere as you approach the top of the mountain. The difference between the first and second half of the level really does make it feel like you're getting to higher elevation as you approach the end of the world, providing a nice sense of cohesion that none of the other worlds apart from 5 really have. And the gameplay in this stage isn't too shabby either. Jumping between the platforms hanging from balloons is fun and has its own feeling of treachery, and then you get to bounce on top of the balloons once you're in the clouds. It's pretty fun, though the bouncing here definitely doesn't feel as satisfying or liberating as it does in a certain other level in this game. I also wish this section where you're blasting through the clouds on this balloon had a bit more going on. There are no obstacles or enemies here, which makes this feel a little lame and boring. Like, at least the final section has penguins shooting at you. Overall though, I still enjoy this one a fair amount. Nothing spectacular, but a fun bounce through the clouds.
Chaos, chaos,
Canopy Chaos is the level that introduces Cranky, a character who is useful in about 3 levels throughout the entire game. The first time I played this game, I thought Cranky was fun as shit to use, but after playing Funky Mode, he doesn't have much worth to me anymore. Ultimately, he is still fun, but very situational. Thankfully, this level makes great use of the cane bounce mechanic with plenty of spikes, high jumps, and collectibles that require Cranky to get them. Some may find this annoying, but the level is at least forgiving enough to give you plenty of barrels. It's not like this is Panicky Paddles. I also really like this level's use of machinery, like these gears moving the platforms or broken propellers that you have to duck under. It's neat stuff, even if it's not the peak of this game's creativity. Overall though, this level is pretty much the prime example of good but not great. The platforming is fun, the music is nice, the level design is solid, it's just a good time. Not much more to say, but hey. A good introductory level to the monkey Reggie has a boner for.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Wing Ding takes the relative lameness that we saw in Zipline Shrine and kicks that concept into high gear. This one has awesome zipline segments that are equal parts thrilling and satisfying. More than any other level, this one really shows off how well this mechanic fits in with Tropical Freeze's controls, and combined with these bells that you hit to make things happen, it makes for one heck of a ride. There are other platforming segments outside of the ziplining, but they're a tad bit forgettable and whatever, kind of feeling like leftovers that wouldn't fit into any other World 2 level. It admittedly does weigh down the overall experience of this level just a bit, but it more than makes up for that with the music. Oh my god, this track goes unbelievably hard, even by the standards of this game's godlike soundtrack. It perfectly fits the ziplining thrill, while also being a jam that I can listen to on its own. I mean, I used it in my King Magnifico segment for a reason. And the best part, David Wise composed this godly piece of music, and then went ahead and made 6 variations of it. How base do you have to be to do that? It's definitely what everyone remembers this level for, but even without it, it's still a pretty good time. Seriously, that music is the highlight though. The ship doesn't swerve as it heard how big the iceberg is. I gotta give Seashore War some points for just how clever it is. In Returns, there was no swimming, because that game already had enough dog shit even without boring ass water levels. So how do you bring back the beach world without swimming in a game that has swimming? Simply make the water too cold to swim in. I mean, hey, given how the water levels in this game are, at least we can thank the snowmads for something. Anyways, this one is quite good, even outside of that creative touch. Avoiding the water provides a fun and unique challenge, and pulling up these ships is a pretty satisfying mechanic. I don't really feel like it breaks up the pace of the level, as this one has a more calm and ambient atmosphere compared to a lot of other ones around this point in the game. It's an unexpected but nice change of pace, and the enemy placements in this one are damn satisfying. I like the Blondie Penguin over here. If I had anything to complain about, I'm not really the biggest fan of this spinning platform segment where you need to avoid going in the water. It just feels a tad bit lame and out of place to me, and I wish there was a more satisfying final obstacle to overcome rather than just these glaciers falling into the foreground. Overall though, a really good stage, if a bit unmemorable compared to Donkey Kong Island's all-time greats.
This is a fucking pendulum, dude! It's for dowsing for answers, dog!
And the best temple level in the game is Precarious Pendulums. I was genuinely surprised at just how much fun I had with this one. It's more challenging than most of the standard levels, sure, but it feels fair, and it's not an annoying spike in difficulty compared to some of the other temple levels. In fact, this one kind of feels like a more refined version of platform problems, despite coming before it in the game. These rotating pendulums are way more fun to jump across than the shifting platforms were, and the speed they move at makes the level just challenging enough. And instead of the entire threat of the level being falling down, you get that, as well as these unique electrical pendulums you gotta dodge while platforming across the normal ones. I really like the mechanical, clockwork-like rhythm to the way everything in this level moves around. There's genuine satisfaction in learning the patterns, as opposed to platform problems which caused more annoyance than anything. There's also fun barrel sections, and watching your monkey be pelted around is pretty amusing. I guess the level fizzles out a bit by the end, and it still doesn't have the excellent theming and sense of life that the best levels in this game have, but for the most part, it's really enjoyable, and easily my favorite of the temple levels in the game. I just hope the ones in Returns aren't too bad, since I can't cheese those with Funky Mode.
Kill me.
Big Top Bop, Pompey is a boss that's definitely grown on me since I first played the game. Maybe I've just gotten better at it, but honestly I don't know why I didn't like this one on my first playthrough, because it's pretty fun to be honest. Nothing particularly special or challenging, which is to be expected from the first boss of the game, but it still puts up a decent fight. There are lots of unique attacks that are fun to avoid, and man does this big ass seal feel satisfying to hit. I still think the boss is just a little too long, but at least you're given plenty of opportunities to hit him, unlike some bosses I know. And honestly, compared to the other bosses, I think this one is just the right amount of difficulty for this point in the game. Sometimes it can be a little annoying, like when he throws these big fish at you that are hard to keep track of the movement patterns of, but I think it's pretty fair for the most part. Nothing outstanding, but a really good first boss.
Why do they call you the Owl Lady anyway? Because I'm so wise.
Go
Don't you cough up rat bones?
Yeah, my thoughts on Mountaintop Tussle basically match my thoughts on Big Top Bop, with this one getting the slight edge because it's more complex, and I think it's a more compelling fight in general. I love how diverse the attacks are, even when comparing them to other fights in the game. From his feathers flying at you, to his offspring being farted out and dropped on you, okay. And the wind attack, which can be a little annoying if you don't know what you're doing, but once you get good, bonking this owl is a great boost of serotonin. I also like how the boss has 3 different floors, getting higher in the clouds as you progress, really making this feel like the ultimate culmination of this long mountain climb. Though I will say, some of the attacks do get a little repetitive by round 3, and some of the later ones can be a bit annoying to deal with. Like the others, it feels like they were stretching themselves a bit thin for the sake of making a longer boss. Though not too much, and unlike some other bosses, I would never say this one gets boring. It's a really strong fight all around, I like it. Someone get me the steroids this owl is on, holy shit.
DK! Donkey Kong XK!
You underestimate my
Bomb?
What?
C-Stack Attack is quite literally a breath of fresh air compared to all the bland, monotonous water levels spammed over this section of the game. I've seen a lot of people say that this level doesn't really fit into World 4 and feels more like it came from World 1, not helped by them just reusing the music from Canopy Chaos. But given how I feel about all those water levels, I'll gladly take a more basic platforming stage, and it's really fun to boot. These spiky things that pop in and out of the foreground are fun to avoid, the crumbling barnacle platforms are fun to jump on, and this level has a whole lot of bombs. It's cool to see a smaller mechanic that's been used throughout the game kinda get its own stage in the spotlight. There are several opportunities to blow crates and enemies up, and it feels really good. This one is a bit on the simple side. It's not like this bomb stuff or these spike crushers are all that deep or complex from a gameplay perspective, but I don't mind a simple stage from time to time, and this one is very well designed and enjoyable. Also, the first time I played it, I had no idea what you were supposed to do to hit the ending barrel, and I got blown up. I am a pro gamer.
Kids, he made me experience high tide!
What do you know? It's another World 4 level that doesn't take place underwater. It's almost as if these are far and away the best ones and get to rank like 30 spots higher than any water level in this game. High Tide Ride is a really thrilling minecart stage that does a great job at sticking out from all the other ones. It starts out simple enough, riding above the surface, avoiding sharks as you listen to the title screen music for some reason. But then you roll down into this Atlantean ruin and the music and atmosphere take a massive shift. Suddenly you're switching between 2 different rails, then back to one, but you gotta avoid all these obstacles in your way. Then you get to this massive section with 5 different rails to switch between, providing an exciting final stretch. All this lane switching to avoid obstacles reminds me a bit of Minion Rush, aka the greatest mobile game of all time. At least until they fucking updated and ruined it. I will say it feels a little awkward to switch between rails, especially from this angle. The controls make it feel like you need to push the stick all the way in the direction you want to move. But I've gotten used to it, even if it still trips me up on occasion. Once you get past that though, this level is cool, unique, diverse in all the obstacles it throws in your path, and a ton of fun. More levels like this, and less levels like this, please. Dynamite Dash feels a lot like a classic DKC 1 stage. That normally wouldn't be much of a compliment coming out of my mouth, but this time I mean it in a good way, because this one feels retro in the best way possible. The gimmick of hitting these plates to blow stuff up fits right in alongside many of the gimmicks from Country 1, while also miraculously feeling at home in this game. And unlike something like Rickety Rafters, this is insanely fun, and they get a lot of mileage out of it. I like how they incorporate both single explosives, as well as fuses that you gotta stay ahead of as to not get blown up or fall to your doom. It offers a lot of variety in the platforming that I can appreciate. This final fuse chase is so dynamic and a ton of fun. It's an example of an old school SNES gimmick being taken to the next level with the mechanics and controls that Tropical Freeze offers, and it feels like the perfect evolution of the Country series. I guess the level is a bit easy for being this far in the game. It's not like there's any mind-blowing challenge here, and this final ziplining section just feels like padding to me. But otherwise, this one is an absolute blast.
Probably because you want them to rail you.
Trunk Twister is the first minecart level in the game, and they make a damn good first impression with this one. I mean, this alone is better than any of the stupid minecart levels and returns that game was obsessed with for whatever reason. This one is super fun, not really offering much in terms of difficulty, but more than making up for it with how satisfying it is just to ride along in this car and the way the level presents itself. It's probably the first level in the game that really showed me that this ain't no ordinary 2D platformer with its super cool use of perspective, swirling around both the outside and inside of a big tree, all while riding on and dodging broken plane parts and propellers. What is it with this first world and broken planes? Anyway, it's a great introduction to a level type that was greatly improved upon from the previous game. The only issue I have with it is that the music is kinda meh. Just sort of feels like plain background noise with not much flair, which is disappointing compared to what the Rocket Barrel levels have. But overall, a really great level that I never get tired of playing. More than I could say about most of the minecart levels and returns. Oh boy! Frosty!
Fruits.
Whenever I think of Frosty Fruits, the first thing that comes to my mind is YouTuber The Autism Knots. He was insane enough to rank every level across the entire DKC series, and ranked this level at number 1. I obviously don't agree with that. There are at least 17 levels I prefer over this, but in a strange way, I get it. Tropical Freeze is a game of so many diverse and satisfying mechanics, varying across each level, so it makes sense how different people would have a different stage which they find the most satisfying. Honestly, I think you could make a case for a lot of these being the most satisfying level in the game. But anyways, while it's not my favorite, Frosty Fruits is quite good. There's a lot to this level in terms of both mechanics and what it adds to the context of World 5. Going from this vibrant, bouncy jungle full of life to this cold, eerie factory where the popsicles are made is a really cool transition. It almost feels like an appetizer for what we're about to see in World 6, with the atmosphere and challenge being toned down a bit. But on its own, there's some really fun stuff in here. The ice blocks and popsicles are compelling platforms, the watermelons that bounce you around have a great flow of rhythm, the spikes are fun to avoid, and the level does a fantastic job amping up in difficulty as it progresses. There are a few annoying enemies here and there, and I can't say I'm a big fan of these spring platforms that immediately freeze up after bouncing on them once. It's definitely not the craziest level in the game, but I don't really think it was trying to be. This eerie, cold feel complements a more laid-back but still challenging level design rather than something big and bombastic. And the level is still a ton of fun on its own thanks to the great movement and creative theme. Maybe not my favorite Donkey Kong level of all time, but a really damn good one.
DK! Donkey Kong escape!
Fallen leaves on the ground.
Horn Top Hop is an absolute delight. I mean, any non-Rambi level that takes the gorgeous autumn aesthetics and music from Windmill Hills is gonna be a winner in my book. But I love how this level doesn't just coast on feeling like Windmill Hills 2. Instead, it introduces its own concepts with these falling leaf platforms and these owls in the background blowing horns in the foreground. Whenever people say that Tropical Freeze's world and level design feel alive, this is one of the first stages that comes to mind for me, which is how well these two concepts are meshed together. Even if a lot of the level is just fall and die, it feels more compelling than most of the temple levels due to just how fun these leaves are to jump on. Couple that with satisfying enemy placements, excellent music, and this admittedly kinda empty but still pretty neat final section inside a horn, and you have yourself an amazing stage. You could even say that it blows. Wait. Alrighty, what's the next level called? Oh, that's certainly a title. Is Nintendo. Whoa! Alright. Putting that aside, this level is pretty rad. Seeing the harvested fruit from the last two stages now being processed in this fruity factory is such a nice progression between levels. But even besides that, this one goes all out with the theme and throws so many ideas at you at a quick and engaging rate. Within only the first 10 seconds of entering the factory, we're introduced to conveyor belts, which move the giant fruit, and the slicers that slice the giant fruit. 3 things the level will play around with throughout its entire runtime, seamlessly introduced just like that. And on top of those, we have drillers, crushers, and blenders that shoot the fruit slices up. These supply some neat platforming sections that thankfully have improved a lot since the last game. And of course you have the 2 sections where you gotta outrun the shredders behind you, which I wish maybe had a bit more going on, but are fun nonetheless. Just an all-around banger level that I always enjoy playing. And no, it's not just because I'm homely.
Sid the Tiger found a shortcut.
No thanks, I choose life.
It's crazy how we're in the top 15 and we're just now getting to the second full Rocket Barrel level on this list. Just goes to show how much these stages have improved from Returns, and Blurry Flurry is an excellent example of that. It feels treacherous, yet not annoyingly so, and the Frozen Over Cave is a really neat setting. Not to mention how dynamic it all feels, with snowballs falling down and launching other snowballs up as you're blasting through. Some of the pathways towards the end may be a bit too narrow for my liking, and I'm not the biggest fan of this snowball ending section. Seriously, what is it with game developers in the early 2010s thinking that putting characters inside heavy-ass snowballs made for fun and unique stages? It really does not. Otherwise though, a super exciting and more than worthwhile stage. Plus, it makes me happy to see the purple bat guy from Returns frozen over, that stupid dumb fuck.
Cheese! We'll go somewhere where there's cheese!
Jumping from one Rocket Barrel level to another, I decided last minute to give Road and Ruckus the slight edge over Blurry Flurry, because while it doesn't have as much going on gameplay-wise, it does have the more interesting theme to elevate it. It's cheese! I like cheese. Cheese is cool. This is exactly the kind of expansion that the relatively boring setting of Crumble Cavern was in need of. And it's of course complemented by the fun as hell rocket barreling that you've come to expect. The use of cheese is cute, and the darkness section feels like it adds atmosphere rather than unnecessary annoyance.
No, Super Mario Brothers.
I guess the level is a bit short, and there are certain parts I wish were expanded, which is why it's not my absolute favorite Rocket Barrel stage in the game, but it's still incredibly fun and full of delicious cheese.
Come on, eggs.
Scramble!
Okay, so remember Twilight Terror, that level in World 3 that had 3 separate exits? Well, rather conveniently, it turns out that the earliest exit just so happens to lead to what is far and away the best of the following 3 stages. Bramble Scramble is awesome, and an amazing showcase of how this game can make even somewhat mundane themes really stand out. It offers so much visual variety that, frankly, the rest of this world outside of the first level kinda needed. All the different platforms and plants and vines everywhere, it's so colorful and fun. And everything rising up as you progress makes it all feel so lively. But what really makes the level for me are the enemy placements. I'll never forget the day when I discovered that you can jump on these purple plant guys and chain together an insane amount of bounces. It's immensely satisfying and insanely fun, as is the rest of the stage. Just incredible all around, and always my pick for the level to go to after Twilight Terror.
I'm looking for ruins.
Ruins?
So I think every level that's made it this high on the list has a legitimate reason to be here that will be understood by all fans of this game. But there's still one stage left that, critically speaking, has no business being this high, yet I can't help but absolutely love. And that is Aqueduct Assault. I could not tell you what it is, but something about this stage just does it for me. And man, it does it for me so well. It's definitely not the flashiest or most creative stage, which is why I admittedly feel guilty for ranking it above the likes of Fruity Factory or Bramble Scramble, but damn it, I love it so much. Ruins was already one of my favorite worlds from Returns, so seeing it frozen over with the sinking platforms making everything more treacherous is pretty awesome. As is the case with most of World 6, the ice physics are used really well here, and the enemy placements are just mwah. Chaining jumps together and hopping across these sliding platforms just never gets old for me, and it all culminates in a really exciting final section. I guess I wish the level were a bit longer, but I think even that adds to why I like it so much. It's short yet more than sweet, and is one of my go-to levels to replay in this game. I dig it.
What's great for a snack and fits on your back? It's love, love, love.
Whenever I think of that one GameSpot review that claims Tropical Freeze has unimaginative level design, a ludicrous statement that's like saying Into the Spider-Verse has bland animation, my mind always goes to Sawmill Thrill. What an awesome concept for a minecart level, presented in such a fun way. Going through this logging factory presents a super exciting challenge with all the saws and logs everywhere. And the level would already be great if it were just this alone, but then we go into a log boat in a rainy pond, then we're back on the minecart, but now we're jumping across platforms being thrown at us by a giant saw. It can take a bit to really master, but once you do, man is it satisfying. I guess if I had any minor complaints, that log boat part is definitely my least favorite section of the level. Not bad or anything, and I love the stormy atmosphere, just far less exciting than the minecart sections. And I absolutely cannot stand this godforsaken end. Jumping up and diving back in the water has just never felt natural, and it's caused me trouble many a time. Otherwise though, an absolutely fantastic stage and a masterclass of 2D platforming. And it's not even in the top 10.
That was cool. Pun entirely intended.
Homecoming Hijinks. Love that name, by the way. Fits the name of a Donkey Kong level just as much as it does an episode of a high school drama series, and that's why I like it. Anyways, this level packs a real punch and lets you know what's in store for this world right away. It's already a really cool concept to have each level of the final world be based on a world from the previous game, now frozen over. And this level absolutely nails that new icy feeling. Seeing what was once a vibrant and lively jungle now is a frozen wasteland is really off-putting, but in all the right ways. Giving off the feeling that we're back home and in the final stretch of the journey. Putting that aside, this is a cool-ass level with so much variety in the platforming. The amount of ideas they get out of the basic concept of ice is pretty incredible and serves as a great introduction to what the rest of the world ahead of you holds. The barrels are fun to blast through, the enemies are well placed, and the wall climbing sections are surprisingly enjoyable. Plus, this final falling section where you have to jump between the falling mountainside platforms is pretty awesome. This is all in addition to the excellent music. The Snowmat theme is an absolute banger and fits the eerie We Mean Business feel of this level so well. It's a little short and none of the mechanics here are mind-blowing, but this is a damn fantastic level and a fantastic return to Donkey Kong Island. You know, you ever think about how this game has the same plot as Frozen? They even came out around the same time, huh? I hope the next DKC game copies the plot of Wish. That would be funny.
Come on and take a free ride.
Out of the 4 pure rocket barrel levels in this game, my favorite has to be Reckless Ride. This one just rules. I understand this perspective makes it a bit awkward and tricky for some, and to that I say, get good. Nah, I can understand this angle feeling a little weird if this is your first time playing, but once you get used to it, you're able to appreciate just how creative of a spectacle this level is. Blasting around giant fruits and avoiding hazards in the Fruity Factory would have been enough to get this into A tier even if they stopped there. But then they decide to throw in a mech riding penguin who
tries to kill you and persists as an obstacle throughout the entirety of the stage. I feel like this very easily could have turned into a retread of this level from Returns, but it miraculously feels like its own thing thanks to these cool new camera angles and the different ways the dude attacks you. It's so fun to avoid both him and everything he throws in your path. And paired with the gorgeous environment and fruity theme, you've got a fantastic level that demonstrates what Rocket Barrel levels can be at their peak. If I had anything at all to critique with this one, I guess I would say some of the puzzle pieces feel a little lazy and shoehorned in. Like here, where you grab this easily obtained single bunch of bananas and the game just puts the puzzle piece right in front of you. And maybe I also wish that this led to something a bit more climatic. The penguin mech just sort of bumps into this bridge and dies. I feel like just one more big final set piece or attack would have shot this one into S tier. But as is, it's an awesome stage that I never get tired of replaying, and this penguin is unironically a better villain than Frederick.
Despicable Me.
I mean, it's a classic. Mangrove Cove is one of the greatest introductory levels to any video game. One that tells you right away you're experiencing something special. It's crazy to see a game pull out all the stops this early on, but I'm not complaining. It just feels like this level has everything from fun platforming to actually enjoyable underwater segments to barrel cannons to smashing crates, plowing through enemies. It's a phenomenal representation of what Tropical Freeze as a game is. Not to mention it all just flows so naturally. Each section leads into the next in a way that feels seamless despite how much there is going on. It really does feel like we're going on a grand adventure, which is mind-blowing considering this is only level 1. Complemented by excellent music, well-placed enemies and obstacles, and an overall feeling of wonder, and you have yourself an excellent introduction to the game. The only flaws I can muster is that this part with the crates breaks up that brilliant flow just a bit, and this puzzle piece with the pigs throwing bananas at you is pretty annoying. And it's literally the only puzzle piece like this in the game, so why is it here? Whatever, still a fantastic level that shows early on that these developers weren't messing around. I mean, you knew it had to be up here somewhere. With one exception we've yet to get to, I don't think there's a single level in Tropical Freeze more full of joy and life than Grassland Groove. This level expertly captures the vibe of the African savanna in all its beauty. Everyone always says it reminds them of The Lion King, so I won't bore you with that. Instead, I'll say it reminds me of the supreme epic masterpiece Madagascar 2. As do the broken planes from World 1 now that I think about it. Wait a second. The level design on display here is absolute perfection, with no second feeling wasted in each section just as exciting as the last. The obstacles and enemies are well placed, and all the different moving platforms are a joy to hop between, while also showing off an explosion of creativity in what these developers can bring to the table. But of course, I have to bring up the music, which is just so energetic and lively and fun. And it's even incorporated into the level design with all these trees and giraffe figures dancing around. Like, dude, are you seeing this? It's a level for the ages, not just in terms of Donkey Kong, but 2D platformer levels in general. Easily earns its place up here in S tier. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't rank Cliffside Slide in the top 10 levels of this game, and there's a very good reason for that. This one is absolutely sensational, which is to be expected as the silhouette levels are usually highlights of the game, but Cliffside Slide just goes above and beyond, even outside of that. I mean, look at this! The trek up this avalanche is so full of peril, danger, and insane platforming. They incorporate all types of platforms so well here, from the crumbling to the rickety to the bouncy. It's honestly insane just how much this level has going on without ever feeling like it's biting off more than it can chew. It's easily one of the most thrilling levels in the game, feeling like a fully realized version of what the ending of Seashore War was going for. And not sure if you noticed this, but this stage is damn gorgeous. Sure, the white isn't quite as eye-popping as the green Busted Bayou or the orange and Sunset Shore, but it really doesn't matter when it creates such a fierce, cold atmosphere that perfectly complements all this platforming treachery. The only flaw I can possibly muster for this level is that I find this last stretch climbing around the circular wall to be kinda annoying and awkwardly placed. It would be better if you just didn't have this stupid rat enemy you have to pound off, breaking the otherwise perfect flow of the level. Aside from that though, I mean, it's Cliffside Slide. An absolutely awesome stage that's way more enjoyable than the world it was based on.
And here we are going on to the fourth world, which is Frozen Factory.
Spoilers for a potential ranking, I guess, but my favorite world in Returns was the factory one. It's easily the most creative and cool theme in that game, with plenty of unique and exciting platforming challenges. Putting aside this godforsaken boss, of course. So it shouldn't be surprising that the World 6 level based on the factory world is an absolute winner for me. Frozen Frenzy is awesome. As I said before, all of World 6's levels levels do a great job creating an atmosphere that feels cold and somewhat creepy, but this one is in a league of its own. From the moment it opens, the factory just feels so cold and desolate compared to how bustling it was in the last game. And then you activate the machinery with a bang, and the atmosphere of the level becomes equal parts thrilling and eerie. This is a stage that makes the most out of a little, taking the relatively simple concept of electricity hurts you and spewing out an endless barrage of obstacles and platforming challenges for you to overcome. From zappers that move around, to zappers that zap moving platforms, to zappers that zap vines if they're pulled down too far. And then there are these seesaws and crumbling ice, and they start combining those aforementioned ideas like, this is so cool! Pun entirely intended.
Steve!
It all fits together so well, and when combined with the chilling atmosphere and music, makes for one banger stage. Definitely a favorite of mine, and the best level in World 6. Should have been the final one, TBH. Busted Bayou is absolute peak cinema. It just has everything going for it, from the visuals to the music to the level design to the theme. It's an absolute wonder. Not only in game design, but in art design as well. I mean, just look at this, man. Cliffside Slide may be more technically impressive with how much it has going on, but this one is just so gorgeous with a luscious green color palette and lovely backgrounds. I feel like if they used the wrong shade of green, this could have looked really unappealing, like it's covered in fart gas or something. But the one they used is the perfect shade. And it's not just pretty, there's so much detail cramped in here. From the trees and ships floating in the background to the general theme of an abandoned plane wreck. What was teased in the previous World 1 levels is delivered in full force here, giving us a super creative stage where the broken plane elements not only make the setting more interesting, but also complement the platforming as well. You jump across parts hanging from vines, you activate propellers to boost yourself up, you swing in a part of a plane hanging from a tree to hit the final barrel. Oh my god. This level would already be peak thanks to its gorgeous visuals alone, but they went above and beyond to showcase a super cool theme and implement said theme into the level design. And said level design is so fun, well-paced, diverse, interesting with all its secrets and unique mechanics, and just an absolute joy to play. And that's not even mentioning the music track, which honestly might rival Wingding for the best track in the game. The bass guitar paired with the wind instruments just works so well together and creates something truly special, which applies to the entire level in general. An absolute marvel even by this game's incredibly high standards, and one of the best 2D platformer levels of all time.
Bounce low, bounce low, bounce high, bounce high.
If there's one level in this game that feels like it was specifically designed to appeal to my senses, it's undoubtedly Jelly Jamboree. This is the single most satisfying stage in the game for me. It's like Donkey Kong ASMR. I mean, you're bouncing on jelly. Bouncy platforms in games like this are always fun, and these ones are especially cool. Not only do they tie into the popsicle making theme and give the developers an excuse to make a bouncy platform level in the first place, but they're just so fun to bounce on. Look at this monkey, just boing, boing, boing. God, I hope someone else is hearing me recording right now. The jelly animation is so satisfying, and it never gets old no matter how many times I play this level. And even besides that, the bouncing meshes so well with the game's controls. Boinging from place to place and pulling off all these moves, whether you're in regular or funky mode, feels unbelievably good. This bouncing alone would easily shoot this level into the top 10 of the list. But combining it with sublime level design and more mechanics that tie into the bouncing, and you have absolute cinema. You have green jelly that bounces you super high, blue switch jelly that you can bounce on to move other pieces of jelly, jelly that bounces you from side to side as you blast through barrels, jelly being moved by enemies. I mean, this is the shit! Everything is so fluid, quick but not too fast, flawlessly paced, and insanely fun. More so than 98% of the other platforming stages for me. I never get tired of bouncing through this one, and while personal preferences obviously factor into this high placement, I don't think anybody can deny that this is a banger stage from beginning to end. My only minor gripe is that the music track isn't really one of the best in the game. It doesn't quite sound bouncy enough. Though it does fit this level more than it did the Beehive one. But overall, Jelly Jamboree is a phenomenal stage that feels like it was tailor-made for me to enjoy, and I can't wait to play it a million more times.
Norm of the North.
While most people, including myself, were let down by this game's final boss, there's a certain other boss in this game that everyone loves and absolutely should have been the final boss instead. And no, it's not Fugu. Ladies and gentlemen, the single greatest boss in all of Tropical Freeze and the Donkey Kong franchise in general is Come on, who else could it have been? Bashmaster the Unbreakable, which is a sick as hell name by the way, is easily the greatest foe in this game, and frankly, it isn't even close. This fight is so unfathomably epic, grand, and cool to the point where I don't think, I know it's a better boss than Frederick. Not that any of you were going to argue with that. I mean, if you have a villain who wants to conquer the world with cold, wouldn't the polar bear be the better final boss? Whatever, even as the penultimate boss, this shit rules. First of all, it's both satisfying and funny to see the payoff of this entire fruit processing world being to make popsicles for this polar bear. It serves as a perfect conclusion to World 5 and provides a sense of cohesion that none of the other worlds even come close to having. And the fight itself is absolutely awesome. It takes the general problems I had with some of the other bosses, that being their long length and lack of cool attacks, and laughs in the face of them. This fight is paced perfectly, with no second feeling wasted and no attack going on for too long. Each one is telegraphed perfectly, making it simple enough for novice players, yet tricky and engaging enough for the pros. He drops ice blocks on you, tries to crush you with his ass, does this much better version of Frederick's ice dragon attack, and of course, tries to kill you with his iconic basher. And despite being 3 phases long with repeated attacks like all the other bosses, it somehow never gets boring or old. It remains exhilarating from start to end, complemented by this killer music track that perfectly suits the fight. But of course, no boss is good if they don't feel satisfying to hit, and man does he. Bonking him on the head and throwing bombs at him never gets old, and you're given the perfect amount of opportunities for hits, unlike some other bosses. Seeing him fall in the water and gradually turn purple feels good as hell, all leading up to you smacking the hell out of this epic as shit boss. What more can I even say? Bashmaster the Unbreakable is a boss for the ages, and he's not given nearly enough respect by either fans or the developers of this game. Easily the most epic battle DK has ever fought. I had a difficult time narrowing down what my absolute favorite level in this masterpiece of a game was. I actually had Punch Bowl at the top of the list for quite a while, as the epicest boss in the game seemed like the perfect #1 spot. Lord knows I wasn't putting the final boss up here. But at the end of the day, I have to give it to the level that originally made me fall in love with the game and made me realize I was experiencing a true work of art. Introducing 2-1 Windmill Hills. I mean, holy shit. The sheer beauty of this stage can't even be put into words. Everything about it comes together to create something that feels unreal. It's this already amazing game firing on all cylinders and showing us what the 2D platformer genre can be at its peak. You know you're in for something special when you see the opening shot showing off the kooky world you're about to explore. But then the level starts unfolding, and only then do you truly understand the majesty of this stage. The autumn aesthetic is crafted to perfection with simply gorgeous environments and backgrounds combined with a fun theme of windmills. Every section is brilliantly paced with no second feeling wasted. There's always something going on, yet it miraculously doesn't feel bloated or like it's trying too hard. It's all satisfying, thrilling, lively, and unbelievably fun. My favorite part is when I'm jumping through the tower full of gears and I spot the O letter, and then I realize, oh shit, I'm only halfway done. This level brings me so much joy whenever I play it, and it feels the most alive and atmospheric out of all 63, which is owed in no small part to the music. David Wise cooked on this one, delivering a track that invokes sheer joy and whimsy like no other piece of video game music I've ever heard. To quote this comment I found, this song is what being in love feels like. I couldn't have said it better myself. It complements the theme and atmosphere so seamlessly, making for something truly unforgettable. It's a level so magical that it goes beyond the standards of this game and reminds me more of something that would be crafted by the masters at Kyoto Animation. Something unbelievably beautiful to the point where it defies all your expectations and makes you realize everything that the media type you're experiencing can be at its height. When I'm telling you that the sheer artistry on display in this level of this funny monkey platformer made for the Wii U is comparable to that of Violet Evergarden in a silent voice, that's how you know I'm not messing around. I cannot sing the praises of this level enough, and writing about it here has made it all the more clear to me that this absolute marvel of platforming is the best level in all of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And that's my ranking. Honestly, I had a great time going through all the levels in this masterwork of a game and highlighting how good both it and its individual stages are. Well, how good most of them are anyway. While movies and animation are still my main passions and what I want this channel to be known for, I'd love to do more gaming videos in the future, potentially ranking the levels of other games. I figured the most obvious one to do would be Tropical Freeze's predecessor, Donkey Kong Country Returns. But maybe I'll do Rayman Legends or New Super Mario Bros. DS, or Lep's World, I don't know. Let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in. In the meantime, I gotta start working on my 10-hour retrospective on the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series. Surely that'll be a fun video topic. See you guys in the next one.